Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about 5 best practices that will help you with your remote project management. Your content marketing team has a lot of content to release for your business, to put it mildly. In order to keep your entire team working efficiently, productively, and on the same page, you need a plan that's going to organize all of those moving parts because let's face it, everyone needs to be pulling together in order to meet all of the deadlines that you have to meet in order to put out your content across all your different channels and reach your audience in all the different ways that you need to. So first thing you can focus on is communication. That is the big one. If nothing else, if you're only going to pick one of these 5, focus on communication. You need not worry about over communicating when it comes to working with your group. Make sure that you're listing your guides that your entire team is going to need to focus on, whether you have a guide for your branding or a guide for your standard operating procedures or SOPs. Make sure that those are accessible to your team. They shouldn't have to be contacting you as the business owner for the hex codes so that they know what colors to make your social media posts. That should all be where they know to grab it and in a very accessible place. Same thing when it comes to actually putting your content together. Use Loom videos if you need to explain something to someone if it's starting to get more complicated than just a couple of directions via an email. Make a little video of yourself showing how to use the templates for your IGTVs and just screen share that with them. And if they have that posted in a place where they know where they can access it, that'll save a lot of time down the road. So secondly, focus on the information that your team needs to access. As I kind of alluded to a minute ago, keep it all in one place. So whether you're using a spreadsheet for your team, if you have a simple content plan that's pretty linear in the same most quarters, you can get away with a spreadsheet. But if you have a more complex plan with a lot of content flowing through your content team, you'll probably want to use a Trello board or Asana if you're not already. And whichever one you choose to use, make sure you have all of the information that everyone's going to need in one place. So if you're using a spreadsheet, have a tab that lists out all of the guides that they're going to need to access and the branding information, due dates. Keep it all in one particular document so they won't need to be so your team won't need to be opening up multiple tabs and searching through emails for information that they need to just create a simple post. And if you're using Trello or Asana, you could use cards in one particular column that's just your information column, and you could have all of your links to all of your different guides that they would need to access as they create your content. Third, focus on transparency. There's really no need to hide any information from your content plan. Of course, keeping sensitive information aside, everybody can know who's working on what and what the timelines are for each piece of content that your brand needs to put out. Everyone can know the goals. Everyone needs to know the goals for what needs to be produced every quarter. So if you have a quarterly content plan, everyone should see all of the different pieces of content that they need to create all laid out in a very easily understandable format. And they should be able to see the progress of those particular pieces of content, whether you're using a spreadsheet and you're using a color coding system for each of the tasks for each piece of content, or if you're using cards on a Trello board, you should be able to see the progress that each piece of content is making, whether it's in first draft stage, or if it's in quality control review stage, or a final check before publishing stage. That should be very easily understandable to all people on your content team. And of course, be sure to communicate the changes and updates that you have with the plan. If you're going along with an agile methodology of your project management where you focus on making changes as things come along and you don't have a very rigid structure like we have to produce this, and if things start to go awry, too bad, we're just going to keep marching in the way that we're going. You need to be flexible and you need to communicate those changes so your entire team can be on board. Fourth, focus on the directions that you need to give to your team. You need to give them clear expectations for where to find certain things. Again, we talked about having either a column on a Trello board or a tab on a spreadsheet where they can know where they can access all of the guides that they need to in order to be on brand. They need to know who does what. When I create quarterly content plans, I have a tab at the end of it that has all of, that lists out the responsibilities for each team member. And that really helps so that people know what their primary responsibilities are. And you can also list the backup responsibilities for each team member as well. So you kind of have a contingency plan for if something goes awry and a person calls up and says, hey, I need a week off, I'm sick. You have somebody that can jump in and they are responsible for the backup content that would have normally been produced. They need to have clear expectations for how and when to communicate. You as the business owner, do you want people contacting you with questions all week long every time they have a question on something with your YouTube video that they're producing? Or do you want them to tag you in a comment on the spreadsheet that you're using for that cell and you address all of the comments at your weekly meeting? There's a big time saver right there. You don't need to be married to your Slack app or your email. Same thing with Trello. If there's if they have a little question on one particular piece of content, do you have a spot on your Trello board where you can have that job be on hold waiting for your next upcoming meeting? And then you can just discuss all of the jobs that have questions. And in the meantime, your content team could have been moving on, working on other pieces of content. Also, you need to have clear expectations for what to do if people have questions. Do they contact a team member first to try to get their answer? What do you consider an emergency question? Those are the kinds of conversations that you need to have with your team members when you onboard them, or have it in some kind of document where they can see that, and so that they will very clearly understand what they're supposed to do. And the last best practice to really focus on with your content team is creating community. And this one is, it seems like you could kind of put it on the back burner, but it's so important because if you don't have a team where people feel open and comfortable enough to talk about problems they may be having with, a particular workflow, how are you going to know to make changes for the future? You want to constantly be bettering your system for getting out all of your content. You want to make your team become more and more like a well-oiled machine, working together and communicating so that they can quickly, easily, and comfortably get out all of your content that needs to be dispersed across all your different platforms. Two great ways to create community within your team are to, first of all, have a channel on Slack or Voxer or whatever platform you may use to have your conversations. Have one channel that's just solely dedicated to water cooler talk or chat, just non-work related things, because people need to feel connected to the people that they're working with, and that will promote more collaboration and a sense of community. Secondly, you can dedicate the first or last 5 minutes of each of your weekly or bi-weekly meetings to just chatting and catching up with people. You want them to feel like they can really get along with each other and trust each other, and just kind of like a little work family, because let's face it, when you work alone from home, it can feel kind of lonely. So you want to make your team feel like they really belong, and that'll give them a better sense of wanting to work together and to really feel a family ownership for the content that they're creating. So again, 5 great best practices to focus on with your content team: communication, information, transparency, direction, and community. If you feel like your team's content plan needs a set of outside eyes to look in and see how things are going in any of those particular areas, check out navigationvs.com. I do offer a 60-minute strategy session, and I'd love to sit down with you and look at your content plan and see where any of these areas could be addressed, and how we could streamline your quarterly content workflows. If you're looking for someone to plan out your quarterly content plan for you, I would love to talk with you about VIP days. I have a free discovery call that you can book on my website, again, navigationvs.com. Please like and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button so that you can know the next time I'm putting out more content repurposing tips for your team. Please let me know in the comments below which one of these tips you found most helpful, and I will catch you next week. Bye.